Well, for those of you that were here this past Sunday, you know that I was not. I got sick, and so I was unable to be with you, and so therefore I didn't get to preach on Abram like I was hoping to. So this week, I'm going to take some of that material, not all of it, because I do want to go ahead and move on to our next section this week. But I'm going to take some of that material that I had planned on talking about Abram and the call, and in particular the promise to him, or rather the promises, because God makes several promises to Abram. And we're going to take a brief look at those, and then we're going to jump to Genesis 39. That's the main portion where we're going to be this week, and that is covering a little story about Joseph while he's down in Egypt. And so Joseph, as we know, gets sold into slavery by his brothers. Eventually he ends up in Egypt, and he ends up in the home of a guy named Potiphar. Well, something interesting happens while he works for Potiphar. Potiphar puts him in control of everything in his house, but Potiphar's wife tries to seduce Joseph. He's able to resist that temptation, but in doing so, he actually gets thrown into prison. We're going to take a look at that story about Joseph rejecting the sin, fleeing from it, and I mean, obviously, for those of you who have read the story before or know the story, you probably can already think, okay, what are some applications that we're going to draw from this? We're not going too outside the box on this one. It's going to be very straightforward, but a really good reminder from a story that is, wow, I mean, seemingly just kind of, where did it come from? How did Joseph get in this situation? And all along, Joseph attributes it to God working in and through him and with him. And so a really neat story, one that if you've never read this story before, you may not expect, but here it is. And so that's where we're going this week. Again, we're going to cover a little bit about the call of Abram, but then dive into the majority of the time spending on the story about Joseph in Potiphar's house. So I hope you will read ahead. Genesis 39 is where we're going to be. So read that and be prepared to come and look at it and discuss it together. And I hope to see you Sunday.